Hey there, guys. Sean Micah here from OnMicrosoft, and we are here to talk Microsoft. I believe this is episode 6 now, so
Hmm.
we got all sorts of news to discuss. We're going to be talking about HomeHub. I know Sean's really excited about that. The other Sean, not me. I'm somewhat excited. So we got HomeHub, new builds, paused builds. A lot of different news coming up here, and we're also going to be talking about things like with HomeHub coming eventually. I mean, it's a while from now. What features do people care about in Windows? There's a lot of different things. How many of your friends do you know care about sticky notes and care about Cortana? How many friends do you know have even set her up? So that type of thing. That's more the concept to talk about. HoloLens, all sorts of things, events coming up. Before we dive into that, how was your week, Sean?
Week was pretty good. I think somewhat uneventful, which is actually always a good thing. uh,
Snowed and snow
it's
in Seattle this
today.
this
Today
this
was
week.
a big day. Woke up to snow. We got probably a good half an inch at the house, and of course my kids absolutely loved it. So that's always exciting. Seattle doesn't get to see snow too often, so when you get it, it's pretty awesome.
I think the only bright things I'll be seeing on trees is right behind me there. I don't
Yeah.
think it's going to be cold, and I'm going to Scotland this weekend, but I
Oh.
don't think it's going to snow very much. It's
Mm.
going to ice anyway. Yeah, so there's our chit chat, our banter for the week. So why don't we start with some of the news? It's not extremely breaking in terms of PCs, but for mobile, some new stuff coming out here. So this is Windows 10 Insider Preview build 14977. One of the bigger things from this is that it's coming out. Because of UUP, they're going to be changing which builds will be coming out. But for real quick, I'll talk about what's new in build 14977. In Edge, we saw that, I believe, on Go. So that's now made its jump on Windows 10 Mobile. That's good for phone. Kind of that EPUB 4. Um,
Hey,
See,
Sean.
I don't know. I've never read an EPUB directly in a browser. I'm surprised by how many things Edge is asked to do by itself.
Yep.
It's got EPUB in it. It's a PDF reader built right into it. It's a bit odd. Some of those tasks don't, to me, seem like they should be done by other things on a PC other than Edge. But it does have a lot of features. So there's that. What do you think, Sean? Do you think Edge is kind of? Are you going to use Edge to read books in EPUB format? It doesn't
You
seem.
know what I enjoy using Edge the most for is honestly just the better battery life. But yeah, I don't really read books in the browser, so I guess yeah, that wouldn't really apply to me too much.
But if this is for free, this for unprotected. I said free. That's not probably necessarily true. Unprotected ebooks. Some of the places that Microsoft lists in their blog post are FeedBooks, Project Gutenberg, free ebooks, EPUB books, Open Library, and Microsoft Press. So there's different options for that. There's different options for the color scheme and that sort of thing. So that's fine. That's there. It's always good to see features that are on PC on mobile and vice versa.
Yep.
Um, there's a little rendering thing. Here's one. Alarms sent by third-party apps will now break through Cortana's quiet hours.
Ah.
And that in itself, I guess, is nice if you want to use a third-party. That's fine. But I think it's great to see third-party stuff getting more access to the system. We were just talking pre-show about, can you overlay and that sort of thing. There's some features that when you open up the system and Cortana and those things, tabs, I think you get a lot of benefits, and I think it's great. And obviously PCs, you're spoiled to the nines, but I think phone, it's good to have that more.
Yeah.
Um, I have this program on my Surface. It's called Flux. Have you ever used that before?
No, I haven't.
It's a blue light reducer.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so it senses where you are in the world. I wish I could cite. There's this great YouTube video by a guy suggesting things to help make your PC better. And he said Flux, and it senses where you are, and based on what time of year it is, when the sunlight, and it starts fading the blue light off you. So on like a PC, that's great. I have similar things set up on my Android. So I love when you get like that access,
Hmm.
and it's make your experience better. So I'm a big fan. So yeah, third-party alarms, that's great. Made a few other changes here and there, quite a few fixes. I guess one of the bigger things here is that there's a pause now on some of the builds. You want to talk
Yeah.
about that a bit, Sean?
Yeah. So I guess there's a new platform coming out, which I'm honestly really excited about. that's going to help updates not have to reinstall the entire operating system on your computer every time you get a new build, but they just give you the incremental updates. So you don't have to, download like 4 gigabytes. You can just download that one little update. But in order to do this, they have to kind of revamp everything. So in preparation for that, which they talked about, I think in early November is when they first revealed that. And in preparation for that, they're now pausing all builds across mobile and desktop. So we're going to have to wait. But the good news is that when we see it again, hopefully it'll be on this new platform where we won't have to download the entire operating system each time. So I'm pretty excited about that. And I think it's worth it. I think it should have been the way it was all along. So.
Yeah. Well, it lowers the size of the download. It increased a bunch of things for productivity. It's another 3-letter acronym with U and P in it. I mean, who doesn't want those when you're covering Windows? So now you have UWP, UUP, which you could call WP.
Oh, yeah.
That's different than UWP.
Oh, yeah.
See, that's different. There's also UWA, because sometimes we'll call them UWP apps, but really they're actually UWA, because that already stands for Universal Windows Application.
Yeah.
So there's probably some other U. If you know any other U's and P's that I've missed, please let me know.
I'm sure there are plenty.
But no, it is helpful, and helps it be faster. It's interesting with builds how they work. You'll see these, the update from build. Right now they're at 14977, and they'll jump to whatever the next one is. Hop over to build feed. I'm sure they'll tell you, But it's interesting because then they'll be, known issue, and there's one thing in the OS that has nothing to do with anything they've updated.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that they can still manage to do something like this where you're only updating the new part, because it does affect other parts of it. So it's impressive. I'm sure it's not just a flip of a switch. So it's great that they're doing that.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to see it's getting done.
Yeah. I'm excited. Yeah, because whenever my Surface updates with a new build, it's like a good 1-hour process, from the time it downloads to installs and restarts, and so I'm really excited. This will be good. So for now, pause. Yeah, we'll have to wait. They didn't say how long the wait was going to be, right? Hopefully not too long.
I don't know.
Maybe
I
after
just
the
assume
holidays.
it's going to be forever. Remember, whenever they say like a summer, and then it gets to September, and you're like, well, I mean, it's technically still summer.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll just have to hang tight.
We'll see. I mean, there's also, when you get into this creator stuff, there's going to be some more big changes. So I think it's important for them to get this right. So, that's that.
Absolutely.
Speaking of big changes that are coming up, one of the big keystones that I think we'll be talking about today is HomeHub.
Yeah.
And so Windows Central broke the news there. So HomeHub, it's a bit of it is a competitor with Echo from Amazon, as well as Google Home. Mm-hmm. But it's more than that. And they talked about it, and they're right, and I agree with many things that they said over there. But it's because a screen's attached, and it's attached to a PC, you get so many other options. So I always said this, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. It's not like I came up with the idea. The idea of Microsoft has invested so much time on Cortana, on a smart assistant, and how it works across your devices, and it works, into apps, even just little things like when Cortana came out, you could say, Netflix, go to this or whatever. So, well, this could be something bigger. This could be something more. And I said, you could create an Amazon Echo competitor out of Cortana. Well, they've really taken that idea and then just absolutely ran with it. Because the reports, and this would be years away, just to quote, it says the bulk of HomeHub is scheduled for Redstone 3, which is late next year, and Redstone 4, which is 2018. So, it's going to be a while before we see some of these in full effect. But it's multiple things. It's not just an Echo competitor. Yeah. It's also multiple layers. You got like how family accounts work, and you'll have a family account. So instead of having to jump out and jump in, jump out, jump in, there are things that can be accessed through this family account, but multiple. I thought one of the examples, I think they had a calendar. If you were in calendar, you could show your private calendar, but then sign out of it. So even if you're in a family account, you can still see user-specific content. Yep. I think it's great, and all this would run just on your Windows 10 PC. It's not It's not a separate device. I mean, they could make a separate device, but if you have a PC, a desktop set up there, it's a lot of it's over the lock screen. They have features like this is like it's almost like a refrigerator setup where you can leave notes and things. So it's set up over the lock screen, works with Cortana, affects things in terms of smart home stuff, but then is also interlaced with family accounts. I mean, it's pretty exciting. Before I babble on too long, though, what do you think of this, Sean? Then we can dive into some specific details.
Yeah, I think that's great. I think that, what people are looking for, so this is kind of like the holy grail, is we have all these Internet of Things, all these smart devices, all these little, gadgets and gizmos that are now being computerized, and yet there's still not a way that these are all connected together. There's been tons of promises. You've had, Apple's HomeKit, you've got Google's HomeHub, you've got Amazon's Echo, and then you've got a whole bunch of other, Vivint is doing stuff, Solar City is doing stuff. You got tons of people doing stuff, but nobody's kind of bringing these together in a compelling way. And really, it's still, it's still out there for somebody to grab. So it's interesting to see Microsoft going at it again, and I think this is part of their big Windows 10 push, because I know, in their continuum of Windows 10 devices, at the very small end, you've got Internet of Things, the IoT hubs, and I think this is kind of their big push into saying, all right, let's start to kind of combine these together. I don't know, it's proving to be a tough challenge. I think part of the reason why is because you're dealing with so many different types of hardware, and everything has to talk to each other, everything has to be connected at a hub, and it has to be easy for the end user to use.
Yeah.
So
I guess we should point out, as they did that this is so far in planning, some of these features will get changed or removed or added to or whatever. But assuming it looks like this idea of you get, and in the comments they're talking about it's codenamed Famtana, this family Cortana.
Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, some of the home automation, home actually being like is this family account, the lock screen.
Mm-hmm.
Any one of those individual features, I actually think would be really positive.
Yeah.
And I think, for me, I've never had a smart home before. I don't now, but some of my friends do. And one of the things that I'm nervous about is, how does this work? As someone who's never done it, I consider myself pretty tech savvy. You look and you say, are there universal protocols? Well, there are for a lot of these things, but how many apps do I have to use? Would it be a hassle if I set it up for my wife, or if we have kids, or if we have friends that need to be in the house? Is that going to be a challenge? Well, when you bake it directly into an operating system, and then you work with some of these protocols, I think that's a really big positive, because that means that Microsoft is making a lot of that effort to make sure that what you said happens, that it's easy to use for the end user.
Yep.
You can install all the light bulbs you want and all the smart locks or the smart, but if you don't set it up correctly, it's just going to be an absolute hassle.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly.
So yeah, I think baking this into an operating system, it does a couple things. One, it gives you a centralized location you could do this in, or at least centralized way to do it.
Yep.
Two, I think there's a chance that some of these smart devices that don't have Windows 10 apps but still use protocols that could be accessed. So it's not like the system is locked out from working with Windows 10. Maybe the developer hasn't spent the time to do it. It's like Bluetooth works with lots of things. Well, some smart devices work with lots of devices, and some don't. So when you have something like that, it could make that a lot easier.
Yeah.
Even if a developer didn't make that happen.
See, when you go out today to Best Buy or Amazon or wherever, and you buy a USB drive, you know that when you plug it in, it's going to work, right? When you buy a phone or something, you know that it's going to work with your Wi-Fi network. That's where we need to get with these devices, right? That's what Microsoft HomeHub needs to figure out is, I want to go on Amazon and buy any light bulb or any switch or anything, bring it home and expect it to automatically work with HomeHub and without any, questions asked. So hopefully they can figure it out. We'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, and what Jonathan just said, this is, I hope HomeHub at least does what HomeKit does. Single app to control, August lock, Samsung sensors, Philips Hue lights, and Sonos speakers. Yeah, I mean, that's the dream. You'd want, that's a dream. It's not the only dream.
Yeah.
You'd want that. let's talk about another aspect of this though. This overlay, I think a HomeHub welcome screen.
Mm-hmm.
This is, I don't know if you saw the photos that they
No,
they've recreated the concept that they did. But in any event, the idea that this would be like you leave it like it would look like what you would leave on a refrigerator is the analogy that's been used, and you can leave different sticky notes on there, and you got a calendar and everything. Do you think that's something that people would use, or do you think that go over people's heads? I don't know. Maybe in your household, what do you think the likelihood that it works?
What I would use it with most is actually not on a screen, probably on my phone or something like that if I had to use a screen, but mostly it'd be scheduling stuff and voice commands. Just like when I sit down, I like to tell the Xbox to do stuff. I wish it understood me a lot better, but I would love to just be in my chair and send out commands to turn up the heat or to turn on the light or turn off all the lights. I'm going to bed, stuff like that. So I think moving away from the screen would be my ideal and having it be more natural. At least for me, that's what I would like.
Yeah. One more thing just on the automatic. I will point out there are some, I think it's AllJoyn that they say in the comments, that it is an open source it's a framework for device. Trying to get to a point there with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of companies support it.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think we've already have Cortana. There's already Xboxes in a lot of houses. Everyone's got a Windows 10 PC. So I think there's Microsoft's got a huge foot in the door. I think if they can figure this out, this will be huge. But
this needs to be like Amazon Echo is advertising a device that, to be honest, does something that within the next year or two your PC should be able to do.
Yeah.
So Microsoft needs to counter advertise.
Well, what I don't understand is why doesn't our PCs do this today, right? I mean, you can turn on Hey Cortana on your PC, right? Is that a microphone issue? Right?
I don't know. I mean, it's some of this is going to be turning on your PC with voice commands could be in the works. I mean, your Xbox can do that now.
Yeah.
I think some of it is, I think they could do it now, to be honest, in a half-baked way. But they probably want to do it in this deep system way and then make it a whole thing that they release at once.
Yeah.
The things that they advertise for Echo, hey, they say, oh, Amazon, read the news. You could do that now, right? You can probably ask Cortana the news, can't you?
Oh, yeah.
And just some of the things that they do advertise already happen. But it's this all-encompassing package, and the idea is what you said. You already have a Windows 10 PC. You might already have an Xbox.
Yeah.
And it would be great to get some of these features there, because then they could say basically, you don't need an Amazon Echo. You already have a PC in your house. And they could have an ad where somebody's I don't know, just doing an Echo, but then it looks like they're using a disc, and then the camera rotates, and they're actually just doing it on their computer.
Yeah. I just don't see why not. We already have all the hardware that we need for this, so yeah, they need to get on top of it.
Yeah, no, we'll see. I think that it's almost harder to know that this stuff is on the way because it's so long until someone's going to be here.
Yeah, I mean, with enough effort. So I think was it Jonathan? Somebody mentioned earlier that Apple's HomeKit can do a lot of this stuff. The problem right now is it takes a lot of effort. Not anyone can just go out and just figure this out, right? You have to be a really techie, geeky person and spend a lot of hours setting stuff up, right? And that's what we need.
Do you have a smart home?
I have a pseudo smart home. I actually used to have a Nest thermostat. I could control it with my watch and with my phone. I had a few smart light bulbs and an energy monitor. But yeah, it takes a long time to set up. Right now I just have a little remote control to switch on and off various outlets around the house, and that's dumbed it down enough that I actually use it now.
My parents moved into a house, and this just goes to show. You need to know they moved into a house where somebody else had set up the smart home, and he had set it up with the previous homeowner where the light switches turned on and off automatically based on where people were.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But Well, my parents didn't quite get used to that, and sometimes if you sat perfectly still in a room too long, I think the lights would turn
Yeah.
off because the lights say, well, nobody's been moving.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, I think we're already getting there. Like you said, there's all join, there's these devices here
Hmm.
with your PC. Or you
I
good recommend this film. I don't know. We Microsoft in movies.
uh-huh.
If you go watch the Jamie Foxx remake of Annie, you know, like Little Orphan Annie, and
Yeah.
Jamie Foxx is Daddy Warbucks. He has a smart home. I mean, it's a fictional super smart home
Yeah.
running, and it's all on Windows, and it's like
Oh, yeah.
blatantly Windows eyes, the live tiles, and it's clearly Windows.
Yeah.
And so that'll be us someday. We'll have a Daddy Warbucks home, Jamie Foxx style.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. We just need to get there on an easy path.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool.
Do you have anything else about HomeHub? I mean, there's a lot, obviously, that'd be on the way as it unrolls, but right now.
So what people may not have known, but Microsoft actually tried something a few years ago. So fun story, the reason why I joined Twitter, my very first Twitter account, was because of Microsoft Home, HOHM. They were doing a competition, and you had to tweet you had to share their tweet or something like that. And I'd been holding off on Twitter, and I was like, all right, now's I think this is interesting. I'm into energy. I love home automation stuff. So I joined Twitter for that one competition, and I actually won the competition.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was kind of the precursor, in my opinion, to HomeHub. It's not really the same, but the idea of monitoring what's in your house, the idea of home connectivity, the idea of being able to control stuff remotely, I think all that's kind of got its roots in the original Microsoft Home. So this is kind of another resurrection of that, if you will. So yeah, I'm excited. I think this needs to happen. Hopefully they won't.
So you're saying Home is to HomeHub as Zune is to Groove?
Yeah. I think
No, it's not that direct.
Zune and Groove are a little bit more closely related. This is
Yeah, mostly because they actually work. Groove is technically running some of the Zune stuff.
Yeah, I see the Zune name, it comes on the back code a lot.
Yeah, it's still there. The Zune's still up and it's still kicking.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, Microsoft Home is definitely depreciated. It's completely different, but you can see a lot of the intent is in HomeHub, I would say.
I hope that some of these features from HomeHub make their way to mobile.
Yeah. Oh, it would have to, right? I mean,
I would sure hope so.
You need to. You can't just leave it on your PC. The whole idea is just wherever you are, in the kitchen, in the hallway, in the living room, being able to use your device to have control.
Yeah, I think Chromecast supports something where you can play your music on multiple different Chromecast devices across your house, and they'll all sync up.
Yeah.
And I think the more we get technology that works like that, the better. People have agree with it. I wish you could say my PC, hey Cortana, set up an alert. Say, hey, set an alarm. Oh, do this on my Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, set this, light to turn on in my living room.
Yeah.
If they're all connected to this super server somewhere that's iRobot style, taking all of the information and relaying it, why not? Not except that it's not a homicidal maniac, but Cortana's over there collecting all the data. Why can't I say, do this but on my phone?
Yeah.
Play this song in my car, except that Microsoft doesn't have a car set up right now.
Yeah. I think that's where it needs to go. I think it can happen. I don't know what the big roadblock is, but I think it can happen. It should happen. We have all the technology today to do it. And yeah, I think that it just needs to happen a lot quicker.
Yeah. All right, well, Sean, we're talking about all this futuristic technology anyway. Why don't you talk a bit about what Microsoft is predicting for the future?
Yeah, so Microsoft Research, I don't know if anyone follows Microsoft Research, but they have an awesome YouTube channel. They recently showed holoportation, which is like teleportation, but for the HoloLens. uh, in a moving vehicle. So while you're actually sitting in a vehicle, you can teleport somewhere else in somebody's house and just sit on the chair. And that was really cool. So you can watch that video. But they made some predictions for a wide range. So they made predictions for next year, 2017. They also made predictions for 2027. And I don't know about you, but I love speculating about what's coming in the future. Sci-fi.
Yeah.
Seeing what's becoming a reality. So they're pretty interesting. They're predicting for 2017. There's going to be a lot more focus on assistive technologies for people with disabilities. And I don't know if you remember the Windows 10 Creators Update, but in that keynote, the very beginning, they focused a lot on assistive technologies for people with disabilities. So that was kind of even though the Creators Update wasn't for people with disabilities per se, like that wasn't the focus of it later on, it was interesting that they had that at the beginning scene. So I think it kind of shows that that's the focus, for I think especially with stuff like the HoloLens, for people who are deaf or people who are visually impaired, the HoloLens has tracking so that people can walk around. There's a lot of stuff that can happen. Yeah, so they're also... Go ahead.
No, I was just agreeing with you. I think there are a lot of different technologies, but you're not done with your point, so go ahead.
Yeah, so to go a little bit quicker, medical applications, new hardware. There's a big prediction for more augmented and virtual reality development. I think that'll be pretty good. Something we've already been talking about the last 20 minutes is Internet of Things, except they're thinking about not just the house, but to help stuff like farmers, and for stuff like monitoring.
We know they're big on farms. Remember that keynote where they talked about ankle bracelets on cows?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's a thing. That's a thing.
Internet of Things. I tell
Those probably counts technically as a Windows 10 device.
Anything you want to add before I jump to 2027?
No, I just think that over the next 10 years, we're going to have a lot more connected devices. A lot of devices, not just connected one way, but like we were talking about, to each other. And I do think, not just the smart home in terms of lights, but I do think we're moving, there's a demand for that Iron Man-esque home environment.
Yeah.
Where in any room you're in, you say, turn on the lights, and whether it's your phone or a PC that's on your fridge or your Xbox or whatever, it's going to respond there. I think you're going to get devices talking to each other more, devices crossing boundaries more between apps, that's what these bot frameworks are great for. It doesn't have to necessarily be, we've specifically programmed this app to work with this other app in the form of a plugin, which does happen and it works great for certain things. But it can be, this AI, and that also works with these 35.
Yeah.
That's how some of these devices are going to connect. And I think it's going to be great. I think the next 10 years will be huge for cross connectivity.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting how these predictions, are they more predictions, or are they more telling us what Microsoft is focusing on, and how they're trying to so they're not predicting the future, they're actually trying to shape the future, and this is what they're doing.
Well, they've done this before when they do, like, they're 10 years ahead or 5 years ahead, and then we see technologies start coming out. I think the HoloLens was hinted at a while ago.
It was, yeah.
In like a looking ahead future thing, they talked about a HoloLens, or no, they didn't call it that, and then we see something similar to what they predicted.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think that was an accident. They either have a vision or there's something already in the works. Yeah, I agree. And they've talked about IoT a ton, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, a few years ago, there was this video of, Microsoft's vision of the future, and it showed this lady, opening up holograms and casting stuff to the TV, and overlaying digital things on the wall. And at the time, I'm like, that's a fun view of the future, but there's no way this is possible. And then a few years later, HoloLens came out and kind of blew us all in the water.
Yeah,
and so,
exactly.
Yeah, so I think reading these lists, we can kind of get a hint for what Microsoft is working on behind the scenes, too, which I think is pretty cool. So, 2027, The replacement of this search box. Ooh, so this is kind of a big jab at Google, right? So no more search box. It's going to all be spoken queries. It's going to be images. It's going to be sounds. It's going to be videos. It's not going to be us typing in questions into a search box, which if you think about it, it's kind of crude. When we want to find something, we really just need to ask a question or show our computer a picture, hey, or hum a tune or something like that. So it makes sense that when you ask a question, you don't really necessarily want to type it into a search box. I'm pretty excited about that. Contextual search, image search, entirely new industries and applications from agriculture and medicine, materials, and computing working towards the era of living software. Ooh. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool. I think that's kind of getting into scary AI space potentially.
Not a big fan of that. I like I don't actually like what I would call actual AI. I don't actually want my computers to be intelligent, like and become self-aware. Cool with connecting, cool with working together. I'm cool with like the Jeopardy bot. I mean, IBM built. It's not. Watson. I think it's IBM.
Yep.
It wasn't built for Jeopardy. Jeopardy. Obvious. They didn't like grant by someone earned their PhD to win. But Watson. And so, actually learn though. I mean, then you do get iRobot made. I don't want that.
Yeah, if living software can start rewriting itself, we'll see when consciousness comes.
Then you combine that with a 3D printer and forget about it, maybe. Then Skynet has began.
Oh yeah. So we'll see. We'll see if that happens in our lifetime. Quantum computers. They're making a big push for quantum computers. Again, children with disabilities will be able to learn how to code and apply their experiences to new technologies. Right now, if you want to be able to code, you've got to use your fingers, right? You've got to be able to type out code. So I think they're planning to change that with stuff like the HoloLens, with stuff like being able to express yourselves in multiple ways beyond just the search box or the keyboard. I think that's pretty cool. Again, more IoTs and farms. I think that's
those fun. Cows, mate. You got to track where they go.
We always need to eat, right? Even in the future.
Why can a cow have a Windows 10 enabled device on its ankle, but I can't have a Windows 10 Microsoft band on my wrist?
The demand for the cows were too high. They had to start.
That's the real question here. You sit me, say, Sean, we've lined up an interview with you and like Satya Nadella, and I'd be like, look, I recognize that Microsoft's done all these revolutionary things, but why do they get wearables and we don't? They're livestock. I want a Windows 10 wearable.
You'll get one soon, hopefully. We'll see.
I doubt it.
And then the last prediction for 2027 is, again, higher quality VR and AR. Have you tried a VR device, Sean?
No, there's a display. We have someone gave it to us for a wedding gift actually, and we should probably go. It's called the National Video Game Arcade. It's my friend works there and already has. I don't know if she still does, and they have like a VR setup with an HTC Vive, and we want to check that out.
Yeah. So I tried the HTC Vive on, and I was just blown away at the experience. And then I gave it to my friend was also at this event with me, and he tried it on, and the experience was cool. But then he said, you know what? The resolution was really, really low. I could see all the pixels. And then when I thought about it, I'm like, yeah, you could see the pixels. I was so engrossed in the actual experience, I forgot about the pixels. But remembering, yeah, it's pretty. Even the highest end devices, VR devices right now, it's still kind of. There's still a long ways to go if you think about it. So I'm excited for the future. 4K each eye, that's what we need.
Well, I think for TVs there'll be a point where we don't need more pixels. I don't know if that's 4K, 5K, 8K, whatever. I think there will be a point where on a normal size television, maybe 60 inches or less. I know that's a big TV, but I'm saying like functional in your house, not a movie theater. You're looking 60. There are probably some 70-inch TVs out there, but there's a point where you won't need more pixels. Mm-hmm. But like when you said, when you shove it right here in front of your face, you need really high quality.
Yeah, and those I think are 1080p per eye. So that's why I'm thinking 4K is probably the minimum for you to not see pixels. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. And then I think on top of that, it's HoloLens. How do you measure pixels for something where eventually they want the field of view to be bigger?
Mm-hmm.
You know how many? If it's immersive, you really need quite a bit of that.
Yep.
So.
What I do like about the HoloLens is you can't see the pixels.
Yeah.
It's not super sharp. It's more like a fuzzy resolution, but you can't see the pixels, so it makes you think it's sharper than it is.
Well, speaking of HoloLens, you said that there's over 100 apps, or almost 100 apps for HoloLens that are available now.
So a couple days ago, I was thinking, well, how many apps are there for the HoloLens now? And so I went on to the Windows Store and looked at all the published HoloLens apps, and there were 89 apps made for the HoloLens. So that doesn't include universal apps that work on the HoloLens. These are specifically holographic 3D apps, not 2D apps. So there are 89 3D apps. Plus there were a few I saw that wasn't on the list, some that recently came out. So there's probably close to 100 plus or minus 10 HoloLens app, which I think is pretty cool, for considering that not everyone has a HoloLens and it's still kind of in dev mode. I think that 100 is not too bad.
Yeah, I think that's pretty good, honestly. Especially because it's technically available. Let's be honest, though. The people buying it now, as yourself, are enthusiasts or very wealthy.
Yep. Yeah, it's not for the mass market, but we may be hearing about those $300 VR devices in just a few days. So I'm very excited about that, and that'll change.
Could be a good Christmas gift, good holiday gift for somebody.
Yes, yeah. So do we want to jump into that? That's the Win HEC in China.
Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, I know your size for this event.
So this is so Win HEC is a thing. It's for hardware developers, and usually it's kind of one of those Microsoft events that goes under the radar. Nobody pays a lot of attention to it. However, this time around, there's been a lot of people talking about this one Win HEC event. December 8th, I believe, is the keynote, and the keynote's actually going to be something you can watch live, which is not something they usually do at Win HEC, I don't think. So supposedly we will be hearing a little bit more, not about the HoloLens, but about Windows holographic, specifically for third-party device manufacturers. So I think we'll be hearing a lot more about these VR devices that were hinted at the Windows 10 Creator Update keynote. Stuff like the $299 VR headsets, $299 and above, I think, is what it's going to be. So I'm really excited. So I'm part of a HoloLens forum, and we talk among ourselves. And basically what that means for HoloLens developers is any of those 89 apps that were made for the HoloLens will actually also work on these VR devices. It's actually the same exact operating system.
Really? That's great.
If you took a HoloLens and you covered the visor or put something opaque over it, now you're in a Windows holographic VR device, basically.
I think that's a huge deal when it comes to developers, because some of these people are never going to develop for both, because I'm sure it's a tremendous task to develop a fully immersive VR set or AR. I'm sure it's just so much work. So that saves so much time and effort, and I think it's really going to help both sides of the platforms.
Yeah. So with the HTC Vive, you actually have to set up blocks in your area so that HTC knows how big your room is. Whereas these VR devices are going to use the same tracking technology as the HoloLens, so you won't have to set up these blocks. You can walk around in your room, and it'll kind of, within the dark space that you're wearing, it'll show you kind of the spatial mapping of where you are. So I think it's pretty cool. I think it'll open up the HoloLens apps. It's actually holographic apps to a much wider audience if people start adopting these. And I'll be one of the first people to buy one. So
I just have this vision. Someday in the future, Shannon is going to have a house where the only furniture is things to sit on or lay on. TV replaced. There's no TV. There's no photos. It's a whitewashed room from a futuristic movie. It would fit right into like the Hunger Games or like what's the other one? It's the one Divergent.
Yep.
White room, and you just have a HoloLens and a chair and a bed. You just look around, and it's your whole world's been replaced.
Yep. I already have quite a number of things on my wall at home that are holographic. So yeah.
Well, I think it's great once power is not a concern. That's why I'm a huge fan of some of the tech that Elon Musk comes out with. I don't know who is it. I don't know who's hating power cells and solar, but yeah, it would be it's great because once you get some of these, it's going to use a lot of power. So you don't have to worry about that as much. Then you can really go loose, and you don't have to worry about it.
Yep. Yeah, Jonathan asks, how you avoid running into a wall with these inexpensive headsets. So it's using the same tracking technology as the HoloLens. So it'll actually overlay a grid in the world that you see inside the VR headsets. You'll actually see a grid of your house, of your sofa, of your wall, of your table. So as you're walking towards it, you'll see that coming towards yourself.
Sean, has no one made a life-size Cortana like Bowman's talking about?
Let's see. There's a life-size.
How is this not a thing? That should have been the first thing that was made for HoloLens. Was like a floating overlay of Cortana.
I agree. I think that somebody's made it, but it's not been published to the Windows Store, if I remember correctly. I thought I remember seeing a video about it somewhere. I know that when Microsoft was doing its big, vote for your favorite app, it was like one of the top 3 or top 5 apps that people voted for right. Make a Cortana, life-size Cortana. So yeah, as far as I'm aware, I don't think there's actually any published apps of life-size Cortana.
What I mean, Cortana is an artificial intelligence assistant, which is something Microsoft pushes, that you see in Halo basically through a headset. I know it's actually through his, but it's through a headset. So he's wearing like a HoloLens.
Yeah. Yep.
Basically, Master Chief is using a HoloLens.
Exactly.
That's basically what it is. He's in the field. Maybe he is. Maybe he's literally using like a HoloLens, but it's like a HoloLens 2000.
Yeah. I never thought about it that way. That makes a lot of sense.
But I love when you have like you can get like a smartwatch that has like the overlay of like the GoldenEye theme from like the N64 video game.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the time, movies and TV shows, video games, they project what we want to happen. Bluetooth headset in Star Trek, basically.
Yeah.
Universal translation in your ear. Then it's something we want, and then we work towards these technologies.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the HoloLens is something that holodecks have been in things like Star Trek. I think Master Chief, like I said, bit of a HoloLens type of thing. So it's interesting to see. Like it's not really It's almost like you create these wish lists of future technology of things you want, and then you work towards them. And so it's not, I think for a long time we thought holograms would be something that is projected.
Yeah.
We thought there'd be like these super smart 3D projections making it appear in the room without any glasses. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure that's as possible. I know that people have done some things, but it's not the same in terms of quality.
Yeah.
And I think the HoloLens is a great way to make that happen because it looks like they're 3D, but obviously they're not overlaying over an environment. Yeah. They are virtually, but not physically.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Going back to Cortana, it's funny because the HoloLens actually does have Cortana, but it's just a little blue circle that floats in front of you.
How boring. Someone took Pokemon and made like 3D rendered Pokemon to show like what Pokemon could be like on the HoloLens. And I think someone like Yu-Gi-Oh! I think maybe they're working the same thing.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Why not get Cortana going? How hard is that? I'm sure it's very difficult.
I think it'd be
someone
easy,
make that a priority.
I think it'd be easy. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe in next year's update. We'll see.
Maybe see. Anyway, running out of time. Why don't we get some of the last bits here?
Cool.
I have a question for you, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
With some of these technologies that we're talking about with Windows 10, whether it's HomeHub, Cortana, even just apps in general, do you think? Let's say there's 400 million Windows 10 users now?
A big number, yeah.
Let's say whether it happened already or it happens in the future, and there's probably a difference between devices and users, so that's not. But let's say out of 400 million instances of Windows 10, how many of them do you think are using Windows 10 specific features that weren't available in Windows 7?
Oh, that's a good question. Hmm. I don't know.
I have a friend, didn't even know his app store like existed, doesn't care. He just used it like a PC.
I think
That's on. If that's why you use a device, that's fine. I don't care. I'm just saying, how many of them are there? How many people like that where they say, this is a computer, I don't need to be in an app store. You did a video today on Reuters TV
yes, you saw that.
on your channel, and it's not an app. It's a browser. It's
Yeah.
just a touch-enabled browser.
Exactly.
It's not an app. Cortana, there are people who don't even set up Cortana.
Mm-mm.
They don't even know it's a thing. It's just a circle on their system tray. They don't even, or the taskbar. They don't even know what that is.
Yep. Yep.
So how many million do you think actually use these features?
You know,
I know Microsoft knows, but we're just gonna guess.
if I could say like intentionally use these new features, probably very little. I'd say like maybe 1 million. I feel like I might be generous.
Really? I think I don't know. How many Windows Insiders are there?
Oh, that's a good question. I have no idea. That might be a secret.
Because it's probably like that. That's all of them are using them. But I think like HomeHub is something that they would need to really advertise as a feature. I was talking with some of the coworkers about this. You want these features. If you're competing with Alexa, you need to advertise that it competes with Alexa. If you have Cortana, you need to advertise her. I know things like sticky notes. You're not going to pay for an ad during the Super Bowl to talk about sticky notes, but I mean, they need to show some of this off, and some of it they do. Windows Ink. They've shown, it's not really Windows Ink. They've shown inking, but it's in OneNote, so it's not new. But like it's just really interesting for me to see what Microsoft advertises and what they don't, and then how many of these features are really be. Groove Music. We were talking in the work chat today. How many people even know Groove Music exists? It's a music service that you can use on your phone, your computer, your tablet, and your Xbox. Do people know that? I've debated. I said, well, do we want Groove or do we want to go Spotify? They cost about the same. They work on lots of devices. But I got an Xbox behind me. If I want to play it on the TV, I don't think there's a first-party Spotify app for Xbox. I think there's a third-party one, but I don't think there's a first-party one. And Groove is integrated very well with it.
Mm-hmm.
Do people know that? Do people even know what those built-in apps are? Do they never look? That's my question.
Yeah, I think Microsoft doesn't do as good of a job as it should on advertising its own features. It's really, really hard. I mean, me as a tech enthusiast, I really have to dig deep, in the list of apps, and I have to look and see, what are all these features, and yeah, I don't know how they would advertise it. Maybe if there was just a Discover Windows app, which I think there might be, but nobody can find it. It's I think they could definitely do a lot better job advertising what some of these features, are and what they can do.
Maybe Microsoft is like, because I agree that sometimes Apple can be way too smug, and it can come off poorly. And maybe Microsoft just doesn't want to be like that. Maybe that's not their style, but remember when they demoed carrying a phone around and they walked around that device and they scanned it in 3D?
Yeah.
And then played around with it on all these different devices. Can you imagine if Apple came up with that? How many ads we would see about it?
Oh, yeah. It would be everywhere.
You know how they have like the shot on an iPhone ad campaign? They would have like shot on an iPhone 3D.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you get that wow, 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 that song coming through, and the whole ad is just like people sending in thing.
Yeah.
And it would be all everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Microsoft doesn't really do that. I bet you the tech industry will cover, and then people will just, they'll see you do it once, and they say, that's incredible.
Yeah.
Why have I never heard about that?
Yeah.
They just won't know about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that they show off these innovative features at their build conferences and at their keynotes, and then that's about it. The public never gets to know about them.
How far does HoloLens have to mature before they start advertising HoloLens?
I think it's more about the price coming down.
Yeah. So in 10 years, are we going to see a HoloLens adverts?
I think so. I think less than 10 years. I'd say 3 years. That's what I'm giving it.
They pointed out, Bob pointed out, the Surface Studio launch went viral, and that is accurate. I think the Surface devices they advertise very well. It's other features that I don't think they advertise. They don't advertise, and it's hard to advertise an operating system. You know, they want to advertise the Surface Studio. They don't want to advertise Windows 10.
Yeah.
But there's some features that I think aren't worth advertising.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how they can do it if it's in the notifications pane or something, but they need to like, hey, did you know Windows could do this, you know?
At some point in time, Skype is going to come out of preview. 2020, 2030, 2050, I don't know. Someday, Skype will be out of preview for the UWP app. And someday, they'll make it work where SMS integration actually happens smoothly and is in a non-beta, non-preview app, and it works across Android, Windows 10 Mobile, and Windows 10 PCs.
Yep.
Are they going to advertise that? Everybody knows that you, well, maybe not everyone. I don't know how many. Lots of people know you can do that with a Mac and an iPhone. Will people know that you can do that with a PC? Because if 80% of the people on Earth use Android phones and 90% of PCs on Earth are Windows, obviously those aren't all Windows 10, but eventually that percentage is going to go up. Is there a point where you say the vast majority of phones and a very large number of PCs have the capability to do this together? Is that going to be advertised, or is this going to be a feature no one knows about?
Yeah. You know what I was trying to think about when I used my MacBook. If you go into your MacBook settings, you know, there's all these different features and stuff, but they actually have a little animated GIF for each feature, right? It's like, oh, do this gesture does this, you know? So I think if Microsoft did something like that, just a short 5-second animation, right, for each of its features, for people to actually get like, oh, okay, this is what this does. I think that would go a long way.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's tricky.
I don't know.
But you know, I don't know. In some senses, I'm grateful because that's I think that's how my YouTube channel, you know, got as popular as it did. it's showing people hidden Microsoft features that Microsoft didn't advertise very well.
And sometimes you say, oh, did you know you could do this? And you're like, no, I had no idea. And it turns out you press 2 buttons and that's how it works.
Yep.
Surface Sean, Surface expert. You can, but like Reuters TV is just literally people. Usually, I don't consider Chrome very touch friendly, but in your video, it is for that specific website. So there you go.
The full screen, I tried an Edge, it worked great, but I don't know why Edge doesn't go full screen. It makes me mad.
That's a Windows 10 thing, I think. They seem very averse to complete full screen.
I was so sad going from Windows 8.1.
Windows 8 had full screenness, and Windows 10 doesn't as much.
Oh, I love the full screen.
They love having that taskbar.
I hate it. I hate the taskbar. I hate the bar above with the X. I mean, let me swipe down and see it. I don't want to see it all the time because it wastes screen real estate.
Go use a legacy app, mate.
I use my legacy apps. I like them for the full screen.
Yeah, but then if you use a Windows 8 app, you can get true full screen.
Yes.
But if you use like a Windows Win32 app, you get the 1 pixel border around the screen.
Yeah, that's right.
And who wants that? Why was that ever a design decision that anyone was okay with?
I want every single pixel of my screen to be used for my experience. Yeah.
You know what you should do, Sean? You should do like a Surface Studio, like figure out how many pixels are in their display because there are over 2 million pixels, but then find out how many of them are used up by elements that you can't remove.
The wasted.
Someone
wasted
said just
pixels.
use tablet mode. Does tablet mode help you?
So I haven't done tablet mode in probably a year and a half, so it's probably about time I check it out again. But the reason why is because when I used to do tablet mode before, it never got rid of the bar up top, And it never actually got rid of the taskbar down below too. Although I have heard a few comments that there's now an auto hide feature, so I'll have to check that out. But
Yeah, there is an auto hide. I get annoyed by auto hide, but there is a feature for it.
All right, so I'll check it out. It's about time I check it out again.
Anyway, we should probably wind down now. We're running up on time.
Sounds good.
Newsflash. Fly Delta. Yeah, it's going away. Sorry, guys. Use a browser.
Yeah.
That's that. But yeah, anything else you want to add in Windows news this week? Any breaking news?
No, I don't. I think we've covered everything. We had a kind of a fun time. This was a little bit more, fun and conversational this week. So yeah, I enjoyed myself.
There you go. All right, then we'll wind it down then. This has been episode 6 of Talk Microsoft. As always, I'm one of your co-hosts, Sean Michael. You can find me on Twitter at Sean_Michael_UK. And you can find Sean on, the other co-host, at
Sean_on.
And he's got a YouTube channel as well that we talked about. He's got a new video that came out today, right? Rooters TV?
Yeah, that's right. That was
there you go. If you want something that looks like an app and acts like an app when it's in full screen mode, but isn't an app and lets you watch the news, he's got a video just for you.
Yes. If you want Microsoft, you want Microsoft news, stay tuned to On Microsoft, right? But if you want national news, international news, politics, all that kind of stuff, then yeah, Reuters TV is awesome.
That's a good point. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, so as Sean mentioned, you got On Microsoft here. This is the podcast for On Microsoft, after all. Mm-hmm. So you got that, and that is onmicrosoft.com, but that's spelled OnMSFT. So it's OnMSFT, if you were saying, but it's that's how you spell it. It's OnMSFT. .com.
I've
there
not
you go.
tried that. That's a tongue twister.
Yeah, there you go. Anyway, no, it's Microsoft's the stock handle for whatever. MSFT. That's it. You check that out. You check out our YouTube. Follow us on Twitter. Follow On Microsoft on Twitter. You get all sorts of news. And we'll see you again live next week. Or if you watch this on the rebroadcast, thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next time. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.